Dude, this is sweet.
It's absolutely genuine.
Voila.
Oh my God. Sweet!
When you think about the Pawnstars, you often think about how well they do at getting not just great items, but great deals for those items. So much so that you have to wonder whether they ever get taken advantage of. The answer is yes. Emphatically yes. Let me show you some of the times the Pawnstars got scammed.
Just a reminder about our new giveaway. We're giving away the new iPad Pro or the new iMac Pro. The choice is yours. All you have to do is watch the full video, leave a like, comment the keyword hidden in the video, and make sure you're subscribed. It's that simple.
8. The risks of auction life.
This is what happened. My son bought a motorcycle.
Once the Pawnstars get an item in the shop, they need to sell it and make a profit. The easiest way, of course, is to go and just sell to interested people or experts, etc., which has happened many times on the show. But when times don't allow for a quick or good sale, Rick often goes to auctions to try and recoup some of his losses. Auctions can be a very lucrative thing for both buyers and sellers, but they come with catches, and they can cost you more than you think. In one case, Rick went to an auction with a rather good guitar that was verified to have been played by a real musician with some fame, as well as a classic motorcycle with sidecar that was made by Indian, one of the most famous motorcycle brands in the world. He also brought some other items with him to cover his bases. The auction started, and it soon became very clear that he wasn't going to get what he wanted. All of his items sold for big losses, and some of those losses were $25,000 plus. According to a piece, Rick lost $100,000 in terms of what he wanted versus what he got. So, as you can see, sometimes they make bad deals and sometimes they make bad sales. 7. When fakes are seen yet bought.
What do we have here?
Well, we got a Wells Fargo strongbox and some antique ball and chain.
This particular Pawnstars deal was odd because this is an item that was clearly labeled as fake by Rick and the old man, and yet they still got it. I'll explain. A customer came in with a box full of Wells Fargo ball and chains, complete with a box to case them all in. If it was real, it would have been a rare piece. But the ball and chains had all the markings of a fake, and Rick knew it. And he even told the customer that, noting that the technology used to make certain pieces of it were clearly modern and not antique. So why did Rick dare to buy the piece at all? Honestly, he liked the box it all came in and believed it to be real. He was wrong. For when he called in his expert, the Beard of Knowledge, he noted that it was, and I quote, a complete fantasy piece. So the value of everything? $0. There was nothing to sell. Sure, you probably could get someone to buy it, but they were never going to make up the $450 they lost. 6. Too clean from high taste.
What do we got?
Hey, I got a 61 Willie Mays uniform.
Sports memorabilia is one of the most valuable commodities on the market today, but it's also one of the most forged properties in the world. And the fakes are everywhere and are pawned off to anyone who might even think about buying them. Such as when someone came to Pawnstars and decided to sell them a Willie Mays jersey. Willie Mays is one of the most important baseball players in all of history. Not only did he set a standard for the skill of playing baseball, he also set numerous records. And he's a Hall of Famer to boot. So having any one of his jerseys would be a catch. The jersey had signs of both being real and being fake. Heck, even Chumlee was able to point out a major flaw in the seller's pitch, mainly that the jersey was clean. While Willie Mays was a legend in hitting home runs, he also stole a ton of bases. And when you steal bases, you slide in the dirt. But this jersey was spotless. It also didn't have a certificate of authenticity, which is almost vital for pieces like this. And yet, Corey not only bought the piece, he paid $31,000 for it. And trust me when I say that it cost them. They tried to sell it for $80,000, but couldn't even get a nibble, so they put it up at auction and made $19,200. And then after that auction, word got out that this uniform was never, ever owned by Willie Mays. It was a full-on forgery, and the Pawnstars should have known better than to get it. 5. Rare car, bad fix.
You gotta love the suicide doors.
Wow, look at this thing.
It's nice.
I think I love it.
By their own admission, the Pawnstars rarely deal in vehicles because they don't fit in the store. But sometimes they go out and make exceptions. And when they do, they should always follow a few simple rules. one, that they are of value outright, and as they have to make a profit potentially. Two, that it looks good enough. Style is important after all. And three, that it runs, and that it runs well. If they have to do internal repair themselves, it hurts them in the long run. Rick forgot this rule when someone brought in an Austin Healey Sprite, a rare model of Austin Healey that only had 29,000 ever made in their lifetime, which proves how rare it was. Aesthetically, it looked good, but when Rick went to try and start the car, it didn't work. The owner tried to tell Rick that it was okay for the most part, saying it was only a small issue, but that he didn't want to fix it himself, which honestly, sometimes that does happen. Rick believed him and bought the car for $5,000. In terms of a race car, that's not a bad deal. So naturally, after the deal was done, he went to his mechanic for an appraisal of the damages that needed to be fixed, and he was in for quite a shock. That, quote, simple fix? It wasn't simple at all. It was actually quite a large one. Getting the parts and putting them into this rare car would cost Rick $6,000, $1,000 more than he paid for the whole car. Which is a reminder, folks, that when wanting to get a car, you need to make sure that you evaluate everything. And if you're not sure of something, get someone else to appraise it for you. Rick didn't do that, and the deal was a bust because of it. 4. Appraised and sold.
If this was actually owned and played by the legend himself, this will be the coolest guitar ever to walk into my shop.
This one's a bit tricky as it wasn't a scam, but the Pawnstars still lost. This happened with a guitar. This particular guitar was one that was claimed to have been played by the legend known as Jimi Hendrix. Hendrix was a master on the guitar, and his tracks are still beloved to this day despite the shifting genres, including performing at the legendary Woodstock once upon a time. Naturally, Rick was dubious at first, even with the documentation, so he decided to play it safe. He called in an expert to verify that not only was this a guitar of the right era, but that it was indeed Hendrix's. To his surprise, the expert verified that everything the seller was saying was true, and even went on to say that the value of the piece was a whopping $1 million. That's a big payday. Knowing he needed to make some profit on the deal, he haggled with the seller, but for some reason the seller wouldn't budge off a certain price, and so no deal was made. Waiting for the scam? Well, not long after, the guitar went to the market, and the person who bought it was the expert that Rick called for verification of the piece. Makes you wonder what happened behind the scenes, doesn't it? 3. Watch carefully.
This is a 1912 Naval Observatory pocket watch. Cool.
One thing that gets misconstrued at times is that the Pawnstars were born with their knowledge of the trade and the items that come into their store. But that's not true in the slightest. From the late old man to Rick, to Corey, and even Chumlee, they each had to learn their craft. And sometimes the only way to learn was through hard lessons. A young Corey Harrison once found himself learning on the fly when he was given the family store during a night shift. And though at the time he did have experience, there was still a lot to learn, such as seeing the slight differences between legitimate items and fakes that weren't worth anything. One night, a customer came in with what he claimed was a Rolex, which is a very expensive brand of watch. Corey looked at the item and bought it, which was a big mistake, because word began to spread of a guy at the store clearly not knowing what a Rolex looked like. Within the course of a single week, Corey bought several fake Rolexes, costing the shop over $4,000. Is he fully to blame for this? No, he just didn't know exactly what to look for, or he was just too trusting of the customers. And as proven, he hasn't kicked the latter habit as of yet. But when it comes to watches, he's going to make sure he doesn't do that again. 2. Business practices.
What can I help you with?
I got a gold coin I think you might be interested in.
The Pawnstars series is one of, if not the, most watched TV shows on the network. Period. And that success has brought the pawn shop and the stars a lot of fame, as well as bringing in serious money to the History Channel. And this was supposed to be a unique thing. So imagine their surprise when the History Network launched Cajun Pawnstars, a literal spin-off series that was basically them, but in Louisiana instead of Las Vegas. Same name, new coat of paint, as it were. The Harrisons weren't happy. They said that their contract stated that this couldn't happen, and yet it clearly did. So the deals behind the scenes were stronger than the ones they thought they had. Still, the original Pawnstars is still on the air, and Cajun Pawnstars isn't. So you tell me who the real winner is here. 1. Truth and forgery.
I have a book signed by Shoeless Joe Jackson.
The one rule of sports memorabilia is that you can't fall for fakes. This already got the Pawnstars into big trouble with the Willie Mays jersey, but that honestly pales in comparison to what happened to Rick Harrison one day. A customer came in a gold and silver pawn to sell a book he claimed to be signed by legendary baseball player Shoeless Joe Jackson. The man was a legend in the game for numerous reasons, including a scandal he was later cleared of. But most importantly, his signature is one of the rarest in the world to find. This is because Joe Jackson was illiterate and actually couldn't write his name very well. So finding his true signature is not only rare, but instantly valuable. I bet you can see where this is going, right? As the signature is so rare, and yet this customer claims to have it. Rick saw the warning signs of the fake, including a certificate of authenticity that was very suspect. And Rick even noted to the customer that this is likely a forgery. But he couldn't resist having a classic piece of baseball history, so he bought it for $13,000. And that's where it all went wrong. Rick called in not one, but 2 signature authenticators, both of whom revealed that he indeed bought a forged signature, making the item virtually worthless. Adding insult to injury, as if he needed that at all, they also noted that the forged signature wasn't very good. In times of uncertainty, especially in regards to forgery, never guess. Always bring in an expert. Rick should know that, and yet he didn't trust his instincts here and paid dearly for it. So what do you think? What do you think of these times where it was the Pawnstars who got the worst of the deal? Can you believe they got scammed this badly? Which of these scams do you think was the worst of the bunch? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on the channel.
Just a reminder about our new giveaway. We're giving away the new iPad Pro or the new iMac Pro. The choice is yours. All you have to do is watch the full video, leave a like, comment the keyword hidden in the video, and make sure you're subscribed. It's that simple.